What's going on YouTube? Quaquaval here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be recapping the Baltimore Regionals from this past weekend. But before we even start talking about it, I want to show a tweet from Mr. Wolfe Glick himself. It kind of summarizes that regional as a whole in one little picture, and it says, "Nothing is stronger than family." And he tweets a picture of Maushold. Why Maushold? Because it was a major player in the finals. It was a major part of Nicholas Morales' team. And it was a population bomb Maushold set, which is something that's a bit of a throwback from Regulation A. People went away from it, and Nicholas says, you know what, I'm going to bring it back. And it was actually rising as of late, heading into Baltimore. I was just curious to see where it would be once the regional started, and lo and behold, it ends up winning it, right? So we'll talk about Nicholas's team in a second. But first, what I always like to do with these regional recap videos, I like to talk about usage rate and see what were the popular Pokemon being brought, which in turn leads us into discussing about the major archetypes, which we'll also talk about too. But the main thing with this regional, as we mentioned in the previous video when we recapped day one a little bit, was there was a lot of niche Pokemon that did very well here. And that's kind of the summary of regulationH thus far. It is a wild, wild west. Just when you think something is not viable, all of a sudden, it can be viable because you have a lower power creep in this regulation. There's no legendaries. Urshifu, Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, these guys are gone. So that means a lot of these other Pokemon get to come out and play like we've always established. And we clearly saw that on display in the Baltimore Regionals. Okay, so let's talk about usage rate, and then let's discuss some cores that did very well in the tour. Okay, so let's look at day one usage rate here. How about Rillaboom at 37.6%? Oh my goodness, what a start for Rillaboom in regulationH. You knew it would be high in usage, but did you think it would be number one? It would be number 2 and 3 on my books, but we have it at number 1 usage here, and with good reason. Again, Fake Out, Pressure, Priority Grassy Glide, Wood Hammer doing tons of damage. You get a pivot option and U-turn. You get high horsepower. It just has so much flexibility in this format, a little bit more in Incineroar, and that actually gives me an idea for a future video why Rillaboom is actually much better than its counterpart Incineroar in this type of regulation. Part of it has to do with lower power creep, so there really isn't that much use of Incineroar as opposed to the restricted formats where you kind of really need the Intimidate and damage mitigation support. But this time around, not that you don't need it, Incin is still very, very good, sitting there at 24%, but a lot more other fire types are preferred. You know, stuff like Talonflame, which you also see on this list over here, Volcarona, even the Paldean Tauros is getting a little bit more play now. So you have a lot of other fire types that are just giving you a little bit more than what Incin can give you now, which is interesting in itself. But still, again, number 4 usage is still pretty good for Incineroar. Then after that, again, 2nd and 3rd usage, Gholdengo and Primarina. This is no surprise, honestly. Gholdengo expected also to be, you know, top 3 usage, and it is here. Primarina, I didn't think would be 3rd in usage. I did expect it to be in the top 6. But the fact that this is used more than Incineroar, it also tells you something about the format at the same time. Again, you know, Haze Pressure for the Dondozo. You're a strong fairy type against a lot of the dragons running around, and even against some of the other fire types that are also in play. So Primarina also does well there. Then at the same time, Gholdengo, like we mentioned, just so much aggression. Tailwind, Make It Rain, super strong. There's no Chien-Pao Sucker Punch. There's no Fluttermane that can outspeed you. There's no Chi-Yu in this format. So that, all in all, Gholdengo was expected to go on a massive run in this regulation. And that was true here in this regional. Then you have Kingambit at number 4. I didn't expect this. I knew it would be top 12. I didn't think it would be in the number 4 slot. But this thing has been strong leading into Baltimore. Again, a dark type that can sit in front of the Psyspam stuff comfortably. You can do the Black Glasses set to exert damage. You can do the Assault Vest just to be super bulky. You've got the Sucker Punch Pressure still into the Gholdengo slot. Iron Head into some of the fairy types, Terra Fairy too, for that matter. Then you have tech moves like Low Kick, which is really strong. So all in all, you know, Kingambit with its bulk and that attack stat, especially as a deterrent to intimidates from, you know, Incineroar and Salamence, just to name a couple, is quite good this time around. So, you know, Kingambit at 4th use is very, very strong. Amoonguss also back to being a top 6 Pokemon. Now that Miraidon is out of the way, Amoonguss has a lot more viability this time around. Not that it wasn't viable in Regulation G, but A little bit less things to stop you from clicking Spore. Of course, there's still safety goggles in Terra Grass, but at the end of the day, the electric terrain no longer a factor. Amoonguss expected to stay within the top 6 for this format, at least right now. Then you have Archaludon, Pelipper, Suffoken, both of them very close in usage because they're often used together. This was the archetype to beat more or less, right? Coming into Baltimore, hence the need for strong fighting types. And that's also why you see Sneasler coming in here at number 9, right? No, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, at number 9 here. So Sneasler also was, you saw my video, right? Just before the Baltimore Regionals. This was the this was the hottest Pokemon at the moment, just because of what it can do, especially with that speed tier. You get to basically outspeed everything that's not named Dragapult for that matter, and even Talonflame stuff too. So again, strong fighting coverage into the Archaludon, strong poison damage into the Primarina stuff, as well as Rillaboom. And Dire Claw is a broken move if you can get a key status infliction at the right time that just swings the battle completely in your favor. And then it's very easy to build around. You know, if you've watched our video, you could do like the Fire, Water, Grass stuff with, you know, Rillaboom, Primarina, and something like a Volcarona. You can add a dragon to it like Salamence or Dragapult or Dragonite. And it's just so well there. The Grassy Seed or the Focus Sash, Poison Touch stuff. Again, Sneasler very, very good right now. Tyranitar also, no surprise here. The Weather Wars with Pelipper, as expected. Tyranitar is super bulky right now, especially with the Assault Vest set. Again, you know, you're getting that special defense boost. Then you have a super effective Terra Blast, Terra Flying against the fighting types. Then you have, you know, Rock Slide and Knockoff against the Psyspam stuff. Tyranitar looking really good in a lot of matchups. You can bring it, you know, to most games per se, as long as you know how to pivot it in and out. Talonflame here, like we talked about it again. Priority Brave Bird has a big nuke already. Gale Wings is strong. You've got Will-O-Wisp and Taunt for your support moves, and just all in all, even with the Life Orb set, Talonflame can do tons of damage there. So no surprise here within the top 12. Then Ursaluna over here. So this thing with you know, Instant Amoonguss and Porygon 2 was the, I don't know if it was the top archetype in terms of 4 Pokemon, but it was definitely up there. We'll have to take a look at the Lab Mouse website to make sure of that. But again, with a little bit less Incineroar running around, not too much Intimidate coming in, and then the substitute niche set being really, really good for it, which we'll talk about, you know, in some of these other teams. But again, Ursaluna doing tons of damage with, you know, Facade. You've got the Headlong Rush. Sometimes you have Swords Dance, but all in all, the regular Ursaluna with all those stats looking really good in a lower power creep, and no surprise here that you see it in 12th place over here. So what did day 2 look like? So as we click here into day 2, a small change up a little bit. Again, Goldengo and Rillaboom switching places. Goldengo actually rising. Same with Rillaboom technically, right? You went from 37.6 to 38. So again, small increase, but again, Goldengo going from 34 to 41%. So how about that? Instant more or less the same, even though it also did increase. Amoonguss also going up to 27% usage now, so top 4. And then King Gambit now in 3rd place with 35% usage out of the, you know, from 24, so strong conversion there. Now, Primarina dipping to number 6. Again, you know, not really dipping per se, but, you know, from 25 to 23.9, it's not really much of a dip, and you're still, it's still very negligible. It's still top 6 usage for good G-Weezing. Sneasler here moving up a little bit, 18 to 22%. Strong conversion there. Even the Ursaluna over here at 17%. So a couple things dropping out was the Talonflame and Tyranitar, that, and even the Archaludon for that matter. So, well, no, not the Archaludon. I'm sorry, I see it right here. Dragonite entering the fray is what I'm seeing here, 50%. D-Knight, Dondozo stuff, very strong. D-Knight, you know, Sneasler was really strong. Again, Inner Focus, tons of damage. Multi-Scale was also a play, which we'll also discuss. But in the end, Porygon 2 also finally cracking the top 12. Like we mentioned, right? Instant Amoonguss, P2, Ursaluna, very good and easy starting 4 that you can really build around. And there's a lot of cores that you can fit with those 4 in terms, and even in terms of the last 6 Pokemon, we've seen, you know, a Dragon type. We've seen stuff like Pelipper. We've seen Tyranitar fit in there with Goldengo. And then the latest one is the Flamigo, which we'll also discuss. We also hinted at in the previous video, but all in all, none of this is really a surprise per se. It's just the placement with some of them I was a little bit astounded by. Well, not really astounded, but like I predicted Primarina would be 5th. It's 3rd in usage. Well, at that point, it's just negligible numbers here. So that being said, you know, stuff that was expected to do well did do well. But again, like I said, the highlight of this regional was in fact a lot of those niche Pokemon on some standard teams. So we'll take a look at those, and then we'll see what we can say, you know, about the meta moving forward. All right, so now let's take a look at the LabMouse website for all of our regional analysis needs. So again, shout outs to the guys at LabMouse for, you know, doing all the hard work for us. So this way videos like this are possible. Before even looking at the teams from the regional, I want to look at composition wise. So what was some popular comps at the end of the day? So in terms of a 2-man core, of course, Pelipper, Archaludon were the 2-man 1-2 punch. Then after that, you have stuff like, you know, Amoonguss Gholdengo, Primarina Rillaboom, even Sneasler Rillaboom were also strong. In terms of 3-man cores, Pelipper, Archaludon, Basculegion, Instant Amoonguss Gholdengo, and then even the Sneasler stuff was also very, very strong. Then the 4-man core, so this is where things got interesting, right? Look at this. It's all Instant, Porygon, Amoonguss, Ursaluna stuff, right? So that's over here. Then after that, again, same idea. Instant, Amoonguss, Gholdengo, Porygon 2, or without the Amoonguss, but Instant, Porygon, Ursaluna, Gholdengo. Those were the top 3 in terms of 4-man compositions. Then it's the rain stuff with Archaludon, Pelipper, Amoonguss, Basculegion. That's again another good starting 4. Then you have the Sneasler stuff, right? So Sneasler, Rillaboom, Gambit, Primarina, or you could do Sneasler, Rillaboom, Primarina, Electabuzz stuff. So interchangeable pieces. The Maushold, Annihilate, Pelipper, Archaludon core was also pretty good there. You know, it's within the top 10 cores. But again, it's just a lot of Sneasler stuff. In terms of sand, you still have Tyranitar, Garchomp, Gholdengo, Talonflame stuff. That's another good 4-man core. But all in all, pretty sized. How about in terms of 6? So it was the Flamigo core. So Instant Amoonguss, Ursaluna, Flamigo, Gholdengo. That was your top core there. Then you still have the Salamence Rain stuff. That's also very strong. That was one of our rentals, so nice to see that we hit it there. Then you have the Sneasler stuff with the Fire, Water, Grass. Then you have Clefable and King Gambit, and so on and so forth. But again, nice to see that a lot of our predictions leading into into Baltimore ended up being true at the end of the day. Now let's take a look at some of the teams and their niche Pokemon, because that was the highlight of the tournament. All right, so we're going to look at Nicholas Morales' team as well as Paul Chua's team. We have both of them pulled up here. I just want to say something. You know, people are saying right now that Incineroar is down, okay? Ironic how they say that, but it ends up being on the winning team, and it also ends up being on the 2nd place team, right? So never count out Incineroar, ladies and gentlemen, okay? It is still the king of VGC. It may not be like the dominant king that it once was, but again, it's still the king because it wins another regional. And I'll also say the defensive backbone of Incineroar and Amoonguss still holds true yet again. It's such a good combination where you have Intimidate, Fake Out, Redirection, Damage Mitigation, Status Infliction with Spore stuff. Just these guys are giving you so much out of 2 Pokemon. It's just no wonder how they're able to do well but over a long period of time, over years. Okay, but anyway, let's look at Nicholas's team here. So it's actually pretty standard, right? In Archaludon, Pelipper, Basculegion, Amoonguss, standard 4-man core. Then you add Incineroar over here. Standard stuff. We've seen this before in all the online tours. This is like day 1 stuff, okay? Terra Grass, Archaludon, Electroshot, Dragon Pulse, Flash Cannon, Body Press. So no Snarl Tech here. I thought we might see that on the finals, but again, it's fine. There were some Archaludon that were running Snarl, which we'll talk about soon. Basculegion, it's a Mystic Water set. It's not a Banded set, so you get to run Protect here, which is nice. Then the Pelipper is a Sash set with Terra Ghost as opposed to Stellar. But again, Hurricane, Weather Ball, Tailwind. Okay, so opting to forego the Wide Guard makes a lot of sense with a team like this. Then you have the Amoonguss with Clear Smog. Again, you kind of need that for the Dozo matchup, so, you know, no surprise there. And then over this, Well, we talked about Instant already. How about Maushold? Again, the Technician Wide Lens Population Bomb set. This was the old school Regulation A Maushold, and you're just able to do so much damage here with Population Bomb. And we saw that throughout Nicholas's run. It just one-shot so much, and people forgot about it for a while until like maybe the last week or so when it started to creep up in usage a little bit. And here we are here today. But you can also use this against your own Archaludon and get this thing all the way to +6. Okay, you're not taking that much damage, and then at the end of the day, you just one-shot everything with Body Press. Okay, along with the Population Bomb set if you really have to. So that's the utility there with this kind of Maushold, because otherwise it's a standard 5, but it's the tech choice that matters at the end of the day. This slot is usually something like Salamence here, or even maybe King Gambit or Gholdengo, but in the end, Maushold proves to be the big difference maker. So congratulations to Nick. Then we'll take a look at Paul Chua's team. Again, very bulky team too. Assault Vest, King Gambit, Instant Amoonguss, Defensive Backbone, also with Clear Smog. Then you have Garchomp here, one of my own personal favorites, right? We love Garchomp. We still have yet to do like a Garchomp team building video, even though we've included it on on some of our teams, but I haven't really dedicated anything to like specifically Garchomp. We'll see how we feel coming in this upcoming week. But it's a double dragon core, which I also wanted to talk about in another video. Like, double dragons are really good in this kind of format, whether it be Archaludon plus something like Salamence, for example, Garchomp Dragonite, Garchomp Hydreigon, Dragapult plus Dragonite even sometimes. But the idea of double dragons is still quite solid. Again, you can Earthquake next to Dragonite, you're a flying type. And then at the same time, if you want to intimidate the Garchomp, you risk giving the King Gambit the Defiant boost. So just be aware of that. But what's interesting here with this Ninetales set, you might think screens. There's no screens here. There's no Aurora Veil. Instead, you are just a weather control option against the Pelipper, Tyranitar, Torkoal stuff. And then at the end of the day, you've got Freeze Dry for the Pelipper stuff. You've got Freeze Dry for the grass types, and Blizzard of still also a good spread damage overall. So this Ninetales still is okay. Even if you decide not to go for screens, you still have the tech with Encore there. You're a Sash Ninetales, so you can take one big attack from the Gholdengo. So all in all, it's still good for your weather control. So I like it a lot. It makes a lot of sense. But overall, again, this Dragonite here, Lumberry D-Knight, so no Assault Vest, no Choice Band. Again, just having this Lumberry where, again, you can get around Amoonguss, you can get around the burns from Will-O-Wisp Talonflame, for example, maybe even Grimmsnarl Thunderwave shenanigans. And Paul is saying, look, Dragonite does enough damage as it is. I don't need Choice Band. And I can do all the damage I need with Blast, Extreme Speed, and Low Kick. And I can still protect my D-Knight, which means I get to have some positional play a little bit. And even bait some attacks into the Dragonite when the time comes. And again, it is multi-scale, right? So you're not really missing the bulk from the Assault Vest. If you are multi-scale, you can take that one big attack and potentially KO them right back if you have to. Right? So that's really cool. And again, Life Orb Chomp also just does so much damage in general. So this is pretty cool to see. I like this a lot. So congrats again to Paul on a great run. Now let's take a look at some of these other teams, because there was a lot that did well and a lot of different Pokemon that stole the show from this regionals. I want to talk about this 5 for a second. So if I had to pick a team right now to bring to like maybe a local at, post Baltimore Regionals, I would pick this. So you've got the instant Amoonguss P2 Ursaluna core, and then you have Gholdengo here as your strong special attacker that could come in, do tons of damage, would make it rain overall. But here is where the missing piece comes into play. For us, we like Humo, okay? And it still works even right now. It did well in the tour at the end of the day. We like Humo to fulfill this role. But if you don't want that, what did end up changing the game in terms of like popular usage was the Flamigo here. So what Flamigo does is with Scrappy ability, again, you're immune to Intimidate, and your fighting and your normal type moves can hit ghost types. We talked about this when we did our Hisuian Decidueye video, but I just think Flamigo is the better Scrappy Pokemon than Hisuian Decidueye. First of all, you're faster, you hit harder too, and at the end of the day, Brave Bird hurts a lot. Okay, so you've got Brave Bird, then you have, again, Close Combat doing tons of damage. Then you also get access to Tailwind if you want to do that, or you can also do Wide Guard stuff if you really want that in your Flamigo. Then you have Protect at the end of the day. So this is something that stuff like Kamo or another dragon can't give you in terms of like the support set. So I do like the Flamigo. It makes a lot of sense here, and the fact that you can't intimidate it and you can hit ghost types matters a lot, because Facade from the Ursaluna cannot hit ghost types, so you can't really hit the Goldango, you can't really hit the Dragapult. So Flamigo can do that for you, which is really, really nice. So in the end, I do like this a lot. It makes a lot of sense on a team like this, and you can kind of see that from the results. So look at Christopher Hahn's team over here. Okay, we kind of previewed this also in our previous video, but look at this: Close Combat, Brave Bird, Wide Guard for and then Detect, and then the standard stuff from Instant, Amoonguss, P2. Now, what I will say with the Porygon, sometimes you'll see the Terra Fighting set, or you'll see the Terra Flying set. Either way, this Terra Fighting set really good against the King Gambit stuff, really good against other steel types in general, even Hydreigon for that matter. So just keep an eye on that. And then also the substitute Ursaluna, also very good. Again, once you get this up, you can't intimidate the Ursaluna anymore. And if teams want to stall out your Trick Room by just double protecting one turn and then getting this speed advantage against you next turn, call that, you click substitute, and now even if they outspeed you next turn, they have to break your substitute first, and it may be too late at that point because you get to get your attack off. Okay, and then of course, now that you have Amoonguss, and there's no real Tailwind stuff, you can go with the leftovers Nasty Plot stuff here and probably run a bulkier Goldango set here. Makes a lot of sense in my opinion, but this will be one of the premier teams that you'll see a lot more after the Baltimore Regionals. There was a few that also had this. As we just go down the list here, I'll even put Flamigo as a search engine because you can do that in Lab Mouse here. So if you just do this, you should be able to see all the Flamigo teams. Look at this. Look at all these results. 12-3, 12-2, 8 3s, a couple 6-5s here, but more or less the same 6 because it does well. I just want to see like maybe some differences in some of the sets here. So this one has Terra Normal Earthquake Ursaluna. This is Life Orb Goldango, which is my personal favorite, along with Nasty Plot. This is Mental Herb Amoonguss. So again, the same 6, just slightly different sets here. But again, as expected, it's still like gonna do really, really well depending on how you structure the team. But as long as you have this 6, it's pretty good. Let's look at this one here, just one more. So this one's Metal Coat Goldango. This is Quick Guard Flamigo, so that's also a nice tech to have if you don't want Wide Guard on your Flamigo here. And then this is still like substitute Ursaluna, right? So after, we've seen all of this Terra Fighting Porygon stuff. Yeah, so like all of them are all Terra Blast, Terra Flying. Makes a lot of sense. That's a meta adaptation in my opinion. So if you like that, definitely consider that on your next P2 team. Okay, so we mentioned a little bit about Sneasler in the previous video and also in the beginning of today. But again, this 4-man core is a very easy starting point. From here, you could do stuff like Volcarona for your fire type here, and then some dragon type, usually something like Dragapult, though that's a Dragology. You could even do stuff like Dragonite, Salamence also fits the bill. Either way, something like this is always going to be good, post Baltimore Regionals. And if you just take a look at the results, you can kind of see that here. It really depends on the player and also the sets that they have. But let's look at Justin Tang's team here, as well as Shilian Tang. But look at this. Sneasler, King Gambit, Rillaboom. So, and then there's the Premier. There's your 4-man core. Then you have the Dragon type Salamence. This is a Spec Salamence set. Really strong there. And then you have the Electabuzz here. Electabuzz Gambit just gives you so much flexibility in a lot of different cases. So I do like that duo. We talked about that duo when we did a team building video with Sneasler. Then as you look at some of the other cores, again, similar ideas. Let's look at this one from Andrew Jenkins, actually. So here's Dragon Knight, and then here's Bloodmoon Ursaluna Whimsicott. So this is like more of a hyper offensive way of using this Sneasler, but it still kind of fits. And then again, here's the King Gambit stuff. But some of these pieces are also interchangeable, like even this one here. It's Life Orb Sneasler, first of all. Then you have Electabuzz Gambit, Premier and Rillaboom, and then insert Dragon type here, and it ends up being Dragon Knight in this case rather than Salamence. How about this one from Borland right here? So using the familiar core that we like with the Fire Water Grass stuff with Rillaboom, Prim, and Volcarona. Here's your Dragon type, which Dragapult fits, and then you get the Electabuzz here for not only just redirection, but usually you'll see something like Electroweb here. Kev goes for Eerie Impulse, which I also do respect because, again, a lot of the format is a tons of special attackers. So this still makes sense here. Then you still have the setup, for the Volcarona stuff. So you got Fake Out and Redirection. Still makes Actually, it's double fake out over here, so the Sneasler going for that, as well as just really helps the Volcarona setup, which we like at the end of the day. This one here has the Talonflame as your Tailwind setter here, but still more or less the similar core pieces that we've seen. This one's Grassy Seed Sneasler, which activates Unburden. So we've seen that there a couple times throughout the Limitless tournaments. Then you have some stuff like this, where you have the Chandelure along with the Sneasler Gambit stuff. I've seen this a little bit. Not as common, but still very, very strong. Again, Chandelure with Flash Fire and Haze is really, really strong. Then you get Trick Room here. So good speed control. It'll enable your Blood Moon Ursaluna at the same time. So as well as the King Gambit. That's also strong. Then we have the Psyspam stuff, which I want to talk a little bit more when we actually cover Delphox stuff. But again, you'll also see that there. And it's just the Psychic Seed stuff, Sneasler, with the Tailwind setter with Indeedee. And then there's the Delphox there. But more on this in a different timestamp of the video, because I also wanted to dedicate that just talking about Psyspam in general. Then as you go down, like Sneasler just overall had a great performance. There's lots of different cores that you can use with it. Like when we did our building video, we put out like 5 teams with Sneasler. So it's nice to see it get some strong results here, because normally, even up until this point, nobody was using Sneasler at any regional, especially with the restricteds and the Paradox Pokemon. So nice to see it come alive here from Baltimore. Okay, let's talk sand teams here. So we know what we're getting with the rain stuff, with Pelipper and the Archaludon stuff. But how about sand? So you have TR here with the bulky Assault Vest set. And then just the pieces around it. The most common 3 that I like is this. You know, you have Talonflame with the sand stuff. So you can get the Will-O-Wisp and, you know, just neuter their physical attack. And then you have Tyranitar's Assault Vest, so now TR gets to stay on the field. You get a Mungus over here, along with Goldango, so you get a Trick Room matchup, and you get your aggressive Tailwind special attacker in the Goldango. And then from here, you can just round it out with a couple other slots here, but I would always like to start a Sand team, or at least around Tyranitar with these 4. It's just a very easy way to build around, and we kind of saw that here in the Baltimore Regional, so let's look at this. But there's more than one core, but I just wanted to show a few. So let's look at this one. So you still have Tyranitar, Amoonguss, and the Goldango here, but instead of the Talonflame, you have the Porygon. Still more or less the same thing. We've talked about this team already. It's the Instant Amoonguss P2 Ursaluna core. Makes a lot of sense. It's Terra Fairy Tyranitar, might I add. So Terra Blast, Terra Fairy, also really good against the fighting types that are still a little bit more prevalent now than they were before at the beginning of the format. So Terra Fairy is also pretty cool in terms of a niche. Great against the dragon types. I think that might be like a latest adaptation moving forward as we move past Baltimore. How about this one over here? Is this one still also Terra Fairy? It is. This one's the Terra Flying set, along with the Ursaluna Clicking Earthquake, which is also next to the P2, which is also Terra Flying. So this makes a lot of sense too. This is probably one of my favorite cores. Just adding Garchomp here along with Talonflame. So you know what you're getting with Talonflame, Goldango, Amoonguss, and TR here, like we mentioned. Then you add Primarina and Garchomp here. So Dragon, Fairy, Steel Core, Fire, Water, Grass at the same time. This is one of my favorite cores to use with Sand. And it just has a lot of different matchups into a lot of different teams. So no doubt the success that this team has. Terra Psychic Amoonguss makes sense as well. And this is still the Terra Flying Tyranitar here. So I like this a lot. Then as you move down, sometimes you'll run it with Combo. It's another way of playing it. We also did a video on this a couple weeks ago. But the Combo Tyranitar Sinister stuff. And again with, it's not Overcoat. It's actually soundproof here. That's interesting. But again, still makes sense. The Hyper Voice immunity is important. But you could set up here with the Sinistra, the Clefable, the Instant here. TR just kind of helps you, against the Pelipper stuff. At the end of the day, still strong weather control. Good into Psyspam stuff because you are that dark type there. So Mason Cutler. So again, shout outs to them. I think that's chessboard too. So good job there. Then you have the Sneasler stuff. So you either see Amoonguss here, but in this case, it really will make sense here. Again, just Goldango here with Tyranitar, Sneasler with the Grassy Seed stuff. So you're able to outspeed things inherently. It's almost like you get a Tailwind by yourself just with that. And then this is the Acrobatic set. Oh, I like this. We talked about this in our Sneasler video. Some people have been trying the Grassy Seed Acrobatics Terra Flying set. Again, doing tons of damage. So I like that from Christian. Makes sense. Then you have some potential double dragon cores here with the Garchomp and the Hydreigon here. And then here's Sneasler yet again. So coaching stuff for TR Chomp and Rillaboom. Still very solid overall. Then you might even get stuff with Excadrill, so a little bit not as successful as the other cores, but T-Turn, Excadrill, Amoonguss stuff is still strong. Then you have Primarina, Volcarona here, so again, you still get your Fire, Water, Grass, Dragon, Fairy, Steel core ideas, so I like this too. Still makes a lot of sense. But again, you can see lots of different ways to build with Tyranitar. It just depends on what you like to do with it, but I showed you some of the more popular cores with it right now. Okay, let's talk Dondozo now. So again, this was one of the main archetypes besides Archaludon Rain and Psyspam that people really had on their radar because it's so oppressive, it commands the meta. And again, would the core of Dragonite along with Goldengo, Talonflame be the one that would be the most popular type of Dondozo? Was that the case? And the answer is yes. Okay, so, but funny enough, you still get some variance in some of the Dondozo teams. So let's take a look at Lorenzo's here. The only Dondozo team in top 8. So he's got Dozo Tatsugiri. It's a Sash Tatsugiri set. It's Earthquake, Wave Crash, Order Up with the leftover set here. That's pretty standard. Then you add Dragonite here, which is also pretty standard on Dondozo teams. But now the rest of the way, you've got Clefable, Annihilate, and King Gambit. So this is like Choice Scarf, Annihilate stuff. It also has coaching here, which is kind of funny. So you can coach the Dragonite and the King Gambit, and even the Dondozo technically, right? Then you have Clefable here, again, just helping you set up in certain cases. But at the end of the day, it's still pretty cool. I like to see some variance on the Dondozo teams, and this fits the bill. Then after that, you've got Chuppa here with another standard Dozo stuff. Again, instead of Dragonite, we have Palmot here. You're able to bring back the Dondozo back to life, but at the end of the day, it does what it's supposed to do. I will note that the Tatsugiri here is the Choice Scarf set as opposed to the Sash set, which is what we like at the same time. We like a Scarf, Tatsugiri. We have Sharp Beak here, so this way you don't break your Gale Wings with the Life Orb chip. But even then, it's still like, you're still doing damage to yourself with Braver. But again, at least you take less recoil with this. So this is still pretty good. And it's pretty much standard Dondozo stuff here. So I like this from Chuppa. Then you have the Dragonite Wave without the Palmot. So that's what Zach has here. Again, pretty standard. We love Glamora. So this is our way of playing it. This is our 6 in terms of what we put out as a rental a couple weeks ago at the beginning of the month. Nice to see that still hold true here. So if you still want, Dondozo cores, just pick some of the ones that we gave you. But then moving forward, you'll get like sand stuff here with Dragapult. So this is also another way of using Dondozo with the Incinemoongus defensive backbone. Dragapult here being the spec set. So that's pretty cool here. But at the end of the day, we know what the strong Dondozo cores look like. So moving forward, I love to see some more adaptations there. So let's talk about Delphox here. So again, we mentioned this in our previous video, just in terms of one of the niche Pokemon from day 1 that made day 2, but still had some pretty good results overall. So the main adjustment with Delphox on these Psyspam teams is it helps you patch up some of their matchups that they had trouble with. So for example, King Gambit gave Psyspam some trouble. So now you add a fire type here. And at the same time, again, you can't click Sucker Punch. So that's good. So you get to click Heat Wave, and you don't have to tear out a fire from your Hatterene, in front of a King Gambit, or even in front of a Goldengo, right? That was the other one that also gave some problems if you had NDD Hatterene, is that Goldengo could just come in and do so much damage. So now you're able to outspeed all those options because, again, 104 speed makes you faster than even Garchomp, for example. So the fact that you can outspeed Garchomp is very important. And then just do so much damage with this base 114 special attack. So Expanding Force, like you mentioned, does a lot of damage. Heat Wave also strong, like we said, against those steel types. Terra Blast, Terra Fighting. So now, again, consider the fighting types. Not the fighting types, I'm sorry. The dark types that you can hit hard for super effective damage. Terra Blast does that. So imagine Hydreigon coming in. Now you can click Terra type, Terra Fighting, Terra Blast. Into the Hydreigon, for example, so it does well there. And the fact that you do get to outspeed the Hydreigon makes a huge difference. So nice to see Delphox here. You'll probably see this a lot more from the Psyspam teams moving forward. So you either have the regular Indeedee or you have the female Indeedee. I meant to say male or female Indeedee. Then you'll add stuff like either Murkrow for the Tailwind stuff, Okay, for hyper offense, so you'll see stuff like Whimsicott over here. But either way, you always start with something like this: Tailwind Setter, Terrain Setter, and a Delphox. So that's also pretty cool. And then we kind of saw that in the tournament, right? So let's look at this from Ben Grismer. He fits that role exactly. So look at this: Whimsicott, Tailwind, Sunny Day. Here's the Delphox. There's the Indeedee. So fast expanding force, double expanding force Pokemon here. And then after that, you round it out with some of your niche slots here. So here's the Sneasler that benefits from the Psychic Seed. That's your 4. Then you have 2 options in the bag. So Maushold with Population Bomb along with Basculation. So this is cool. Then you have Adrian Hurley over here. So another Dondozo kind of team. But again, there's the core. Here's your Murkrow. Here's your Indeedee. Here's your Delphox. So Tailwind Setter, Terrain Setter, Sweeper. Then you have the Sneasler fulfilling the role of the other Sweeper. And after that, I want to save these 2 here. But again, we also see this from Kevin. Again, the same formula. Now you have Maushold and Annihilate here. This is Population Bomb Maushold. Then after that, same team, I think, from Josh, but we covered Josh already. How about this one? So now look at this. So let's look at Arbin's team. We mentioned this also before, but it almost looks like you can just put Hatterene in the slot. But now we can make the adjustment and say, you know what, Delphox is just much better than a Hatterene at the moment for all the reasons I mentioned. So let's throw it in there and look at the results. Now, all of a sudden, Psyspam really looks like a strong day 2 team. So consider that in your future Psyspam ideas. I think, again, the Indeedee male is a strong one in this case. If you had to use like male Indeedee, now you have a way to really use it instead of just using the female stuff with the Indeedee is what I meant. And then at the end of the day, it's a strong special attacker that can do well right now in the given meta. So yeah, nice to see it. I want to spotlight Quaquaval here for a second because there was a pretty cool team that did very well, and it makes a lot of sense for what it's supposed to do and how you use it. So again, the format is always starving for strong fighting types right now because it does great into the dark types that are running around, and it also does well into Archaludon, Goldango stuff at the same time, even Kingambit at the end of the day. So Quaquaval fits the description here. Again, you've got close combat, but you also got Moxie here, and you also have Aqua Step, which gives you the speed boost that you need to outspeed everything. So if you can get 1 Aqua Step off, then from there you can pretty much, or even after 2, you can even technically outspeed Dragon Bolt. All you need is about 107 speed investments, and then you can just do more bulk here. But if you just run the Sash set, then that's also fine at the same time. But what's really cool here is that this was used on a Rain team from Blake Silver here. So shout outs to Blake for coming up with a cool team to use Quaquaval. We've seen this before. The Archaludon, Pelipper, Salamence idea with the Steel type. Normally this would be Amoonguss, but here we have Rillaboom here. But look at this. How about Quaquaval on a Rain team like this? So now your Aqua Step and Aqua Jet is doing more damage. You can pick up a KO with Aqua Jet and then just start rolling with Moxie. Then you can start going for Aqua Step. So now you're getting speed boost and attack boost, which is going to do a lot of damage. And then at the same time, look, you've got Tailwind here from your Pelipper. You've got Goldango here with aggressive Make It Rains with the Metal Coil. If you can get up your Tailwind, you have another Tailwind setter with the Salamence. So look at this. How about Choice Scarf Pelipper here with the Tailwind? We've seen Choice Scarf Salamence with Tailwind, but Blake says, you know what? I think that's better on the Pelipper. And then you could even U-turn the heck out and then, just reposition your weather just in case people switch in Tyranitar or Torkoal or Ninetales onto you. And then again, Salamence setting Tailwind for your team is also really helpful. And then Quaquaval can come in, maybe pick up a key KO there, and in the middle of the game, and then just start potentially sweeping if it can get a Moxie boost here. So I really like this from Blake. And again, sometimes just people aren't really feeling Primarina and they're looking for strong water types. And Quaquaval can kind of give you that if you just put it on the right team. How did Archaludon overall do at the regional? It did very well. Strong results across the board, like a lot of day 2 teams. We've already talked about Nicholas's team. Look at this one with Sinistcha. We built one team with Sinistcha and the Archaludon Pelipper stuff. We liked Hydreigon there with the Maushold, but here we're going with screens and Annihilate stuff, so it's still okay. It makes a lot of sense. You have the Trick Room here with the Sinistcha. You have screens with Grimmsnarl, so this plays very bulky, very defensive. Makes a lot of sense here. You even have Tailwind here on the Pelipper, so you've got a Tail Room idea going here. So shout outs to Ethan for a very nice team composition there. Then you've got Alex over here with Volbeat and Espathra. We talked about this in the previous video, but look at this. You've got Tailwind here with the Archaludon. Then you have Typhlosion here, so a lot of hyper offensive stuff with Sunny Day or Rain Dance. And Volbeat can kind of give you both of those options. And then Espathra with the Lumina Crash, especially with the speed boost here, is going to do a lot. And when you couple it with all these special attackers, it's a great support Pokemon at the end of the day. Then we mentioned the Salamence Rain stuff. This is the 6 that we made as a rental at the beginning of the format. Terra Dragon King Gambit also makes sense here. And then at the end, Terra Psychic Amoonguss is still like relatively solid. So I like that. Salamence Rain stuff is still very, very strong. And again, we see this also from Jody, along with Justin Tang, Shilian Tang, and that stuff. Again, Salamence Rain really good right now. So if you really wanted to pilot Archaludon Rain, Salamence idea is still very, very solid. You can also do technically Garchomp here, which is actually pretty cool. So you can do Garchomp, Earthquake next to Pelipper. You can even Earthquake next to your Archaludon if you Terra Grass. Give yourself a nice defense boost. Go for Body Press. You can even consider it like that if you so choose. So I do like that idea. And then after that, you have some other niche options. But again, lots of Salamence Rain here. Look at this. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Salamence teams. 5 Salamence Rain teams. And it's just very solid overall for what it's supposed to do. I will look at one more here with the Greninja. So kind of like the Quaquaval idea, you have another interesting water type besides the Archaludon. Not that Archaludon was a water type. I meant in place of the Basculegion. So you've got Haze here and Taunt. So that's cool. That's a niche for Greninja at the moment. So we're going to have to talk about this a little bit more in a future video. But nice to see Greninja have at least some place in the meta right now. Even though it's a small niche, at least it is a niche at the end of the day. We got to talk about these two, right? This was from Wolfe, Glick, and Justin Carris' team. So this was the centerpiece of that team, but they also had like 4 other strong Pokemon there. But I really wanted to spotlight these two, so just because of the interaction that they have. We talked a little bit about this previously, but again, Mycelium Might makes it so that you're going last in your priority bracket with your status moves. So if you just do stuff like Spore, you're out of luck there. But if you have the Weezing on the field, the neutralizing gas can kind of cancel that, and then you get to click Spore anyway, which is really nice. But again, just noting that if you switch it out, the Weezing that particular turn, your Spore can still go first, depending on the speed tiers, of course. But on the converse, it doesn't work the other way around. Like, let's say you switch into Weezing that turn, your Spore doesn't get the benefit because, again, the interaction was already locked in when the turn started, right? So just note that. But it's pretty cool just in terms of getting usage out of Weezing in this type of format. It makes a lot of sense. You get to cancel out weather, you get to cancel out prankster stuff, clear body goes bye-bye, and a bunch of other things, right? And then Toedscruel, again, just having pressure with stuff like Earth Power, really good against the fire types, against steel types like Goldango for that matter. And it's just a pretty cool combination, things that you normally would not expect. But they were able to pull it off very, very well. So if you just take a look at the rest of that team there, just looking at Toedscruel, let's look at Wolfe's teams as a whole. So it's Covert Cloak with Spore, Rage Powder, Acid Spray, and then Earth Power. So Acid Spray benefiting really well with Typhlosion over here, as well as the Galarian Weezing. Now, again, you get to click Acid Spray, and now you yourself can do more damage with Earth Power, or even have your Galarian Weezing do even more damage with the Choice Specs idea. So this is pretty cool. Then you've got Corviknight, Garchomp stuff. Again, just Tailwinding. You can click Earthquake next to it, also makes sense. And then the Typhlosion can click Eruption when the Tailwind is up. And you have the Choice Scarf, which will let you outspeed the Mirror, which is important. Because normal Typhlosions, they either have like the Specs or they have the Charcoal. Now you have the Choice Scarf. So you win the Mirror matchup. And then, of course, Palmot, again, another strong fighting type that can click Close Combat. Double Shock is also pretty good against some of the other water types, like a Primarina, for example. You get to outspeed it and hit it super hard, and then, of course, you still have Fake Out Pressure to even help you set up said Tailwind, but this is pretty cool. I like this team a lot. I think Wolfe just already released this on his Patreon, so you're definitely going to see this a lot more on ladder, so just be ready for it. But nice to see Toedscruel and Galarian Weezing do well at Baltimore. All right, just a few more options that also did well and things we've already discussed before. So how about Vivillon again? Getting 2 top cut results here. Again, from Joe, just look at this. Garchomp, Vivillon, Primarina P2, Incineroar. You almost want this to be Amoonguss, right? But it's not. It's a Vivillon. So Compound Eyes is really good with this type of set. Again, Sleep Powder is basically almost 100% accurate. Then you have the Hurricane as well, getting the benefit from Compound Eyes. Then you have redirection support with the Rage Powder. You can set up the Nasty Plot or the Trick Room for that matter. And then you have Instant, just giving you that defensive backbone with the parting shots, you know, and fake out recycling is really, really strong. But again, Garchomp Pre-Marina stuff also very solid. Then you look at this one from Jeremy Odena. Similar ideas. Again, Garchomp Pre-Marina coming back yet again. Then you have Corviknight here. So you got that Dragon Fairy Steel Core going here. Here's the Blaze Paldean Tauros along with Pre-Marina giving you a Fire Grass combination. Fire Water is what I meant. And then again, Vivillon having that set with the Compound Eyes. So again, nice to see that. How about Blaziken? Okay, never thought I'd see Blaziken do well at a regional. There was a couple of Blaziken teams. Brian Fournier's team, this is the pledge stuff. He just released a rental. So if you want the rental, you can message me or you can, you know, find it on Twitter. But he did release the rental for this team. So if you really want it, go ahead and grab it. But again, it's the Fire Pledge stuff along with Grass Pledge and Empoleon with Water Pledge. We covered this previously. But again, Ferrigaf, Dragapult, strong combination. You get to stop Sucker Punches against your own Dragapult here. Bloodmoon or Ursaluna, something else that benefits under Trick Room here. And then just overall, enacting the Pledge stuff is kind of fun if you're able to just have the tools that can do it. Blaziken, again, a good, strong fighting type overall. With Speed Boost, you would get to outspeed everything. You get to hit hard with close combat. And it just makes a lot of sense on a team like this. So it's really creative. So I really like that from Brian. Then you had Ryan's team here, which is otherwise a little bit more standard. You almost want a Sneasler here, but instead of Sneasler, we've got a Blaziken at the end of the day. So, or I should say, instead of like Volcarona, we've got a Blaziken. Still makes sense. Again, now you have coaching because you can coach the Dragapult, you can coach the Rillaboom, you can coach the Kingambit. Lots of coaching targets here from Ryan. And I believe they also released a rental too, so that's pretty good. And they even linked the team report, so you can even grab that team if you like. This is really cool. I like it a lot. I really want to use this, so hopefully we'll get a chance to do it. But again, Blaziken is another one of those Pokemon that, again, another good fighting type that you need for that Archaludon matchup. So nice to see that there. We've seen a lot more fighting types rise as of late, and we need them because you can't just let that thing run rampant. So it's nice to see the coverage there. Then you even had the Hypno team over here, which we also previewed before. But look at Noah's team here with Hypno. Look, this is an incredibly funny, unique niche for Hypno. So you've got Insomnia, so you can't be slept here. Then you have Haze, which gives you some ideas against Dondozo stuff, as well as like setup mons. Then you've got Expanding Force, which gets to nuke the Amoonguss, which is kind of funny. And it's up no terrain here, by the way. You just get to nuke it. And then you've got Imprison Trick Room, which is kind of funny. So you get to still play this into Psyspam. And now you click Imprison. Now they can't click Trick Room and they can't click Expanding Force. So what a interesting niche here for Hypno. And this is the only Pokemon that can really do that. So nice that Noah was able to find Hypno that can fulfill all these roles on a team like this. I respect it a lot because otherwise it's pretty much just straight Maushold Screens team with Grimmsnarl. And again, one thing that can really give him trouble is Psyspam. So I like that Hypno can do that here. Amoonguss can also be a little bit annoying. And this is where the Hypno can really come in clutch. Then you also have stuff like the Samurott. Okay, there was Brendan Zhang with the Hisuian Samurott. Again, the sharpness stuff, just doing more damage overall. Again, Sacred Sword ignoring those defense boosts, really strong against the defense that Archaludon would get, and even sometimes the Dondozo buffs. You get to ignore that and just deal super big damage into that. You do have the Sneasler, but that's still okay at the end of the day. So nice to see that as well. And then we can't forget Scyther, man. Yo, I mean, that was crazy from VGC, right? We saw them on stream, but overall, look at this squad, man. Meowscarada, Sylveon, they used this before back in Regulation A. And then you have Scyther here with Technician and Eviolite. So the Eviolite is giving it bulk. Then the Technician is giving it damage because you have a strong dual Wing Beat. You also technically have a strong Thief here. And then Close Combat is your tech move there. You're not going to one-shot a lot of things, but it's still decent, solid damage into stuff like Kingambit, which is 4 times weak. So this is a pretty cool team. I like this a lot. Nice to see Scyther get a good use in a regional like this. All right, but yeah, that's it for now, folks. So let me know what you thought of Baltimore Regionals. I guess moving forward, we have a lot of restructuring to do with our tier list. Okay, so stay tuned for that updated tier list video because we got a lot of things moving up. Just things that normally you would not use. Now all of a sudden you will use just based on the given meta where we are at the moment. The archetypes that we expected to do well did do well, but it was just the niche Pokemon that made all the difference in separating themselves from the standard archetype, right? So that makes things for a little bit more of an interesting meta, right? So moving forward, we'll see what happens next with the online tournaments. Let's see how the meta changes there with the teams that are used. Not only that, but also some of the niche options that we got to preview in this video and even the previous one. All right, so that's going to be it for now, folks. Let me know what you thought of the regionals. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.